that made a wonderful impression on you? You know, that makes you feel like they were the best. So the reason why we're asking you this is we want you to think about these points and see how you can use those specific traits of your best teacher who you love a lot in your own teaching ideology. So are we ready for that? So I'll give you 1 minute. Please think about it, and once you're done, raise your hand, and we will share our experiences with each other. Are we ready? You want to share your experience with us?
I think my best professor was for upper level class on war, and the way
war.
Yeah, like on what causes war, why we have it, effects, and basically he was very creative, getting us excited about it. So on our first day in class, made this like 10-minute montage video of like a bunch of different battle scenes from movies and just played it, got us excited. We did like a game of croquet outside in like the library to teach us about like relative and positive gains. He would come up with like fake news stories that he presented to class in dramatic fashion, like about nuclear weapons, to kind of get us thinking about it. You can just tell he's invested in it and cared about it, and he was creative.
Excellent, excellent. So he had his whole class very dynamic and interactive, and that's a key that we already learned about, and see how you can use the trait in your own teaching ideology, right? Anybody else?
The thing is, I don't really know like one specific teacher, because
Sure.
I feel like I had a lot of good teachers, but I think with that whole like dynamic interaction, that's what sticks out the most. Is that when they take it, it's not, you're not just like sitting there like reading a PowerPoint and then you don't say anything and then you walk out and you're like, oh, what was that? You know, it's like it kind of takes you out of that whole like passive learning.
And anybody else? Thank you, Jill. Anybody else? You?
Sure. I took a criminal justice class when I got it. It had like 200 some people in it. And the professor made a point to make sure to find as many people and know as many people as he could in their names. And so it was really impressive. And he always knew the material, so he like trusted his team.
So know your students' needs. That makes a huge difference. It makes them feel that they are important, and you want everybody to feel like it. Okay? Thank you for sharing your experiences. So we just want you to realize that all of us had different teaching models. We had different teachers teaching us from our kindergarten right till now, right? And so all of us know many people who we look up to. So see how you can use their traits in your own ideology and develop your ideology. So having said that, we'll go ahead and we'll talk about effective instruction. So what are some rules of to follow to do well? This is a specific question that we get in TADP all the time. And it's a trick question because there are no specific rules, okay? But I do have my own rules that I make because I'm developing my own teaching ideology, right? And I want to do well in whatever I'm doing. So one rule that I have is do not swear. Do not swear in the classroom. It's as simple as that, okay? And the other is an outline rule. Yes, I do make an outline every night, the night before. If my discussion is tomorrow, I make it tonight, and I make sure that I know what I am going to discuss. I make sure that I have my time split. If I have 50 minutes, yes, time management is extremely important. The first 5 minutes will be a recap session. The last 5 minutes might be a pop quiz. And the next 20 minutes in between can be about the assignments. And the other 20 minutes can be about the lecture material, right? But make sure that you as an instructor know your organization, how you are going to teach the class. And yes, a lot of interaction and feedback is very important. Then types of instructional media. So Rob will be talking to you a lot about learning styles and teaching strategies. But always remember that try to use as many teaching strategies as possible because every student is different. Every student has a different way of learning. So using demonstrations of real objects and models definitely help. Okay, taking them somewhere, like if you're explaining them very simple things like the war, like you said, right? Which is not very simple, but you can definitely go to the library and then show them some different models in the library, right? The books that's available. You know, any type of outing might help them. Second, you can have different types of PowerPoints, you can have some cartoons, make it a little animated where they can laugh and still they get the best out of your teacher. And use your computer and your web. And then effective organization. These are some specific problems that we might all face. One is latecomers. So to avoid latecomers, I personally take attendance as soon as the class starts so that students are not late the next time. I had a class where I had to conduct the discussion at 7 a.m. in the morning on a Friday. How would you like that? Not really, right? That doesn't sound fun. What's Thursday nights here in the United States?
In Riverside.
In Riverside, college nights, right? So usually people don't want to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Friday morning. On a Friday, I mean it's pretty natural. But since they have to, and since they are going to get points if they make to the discussion, so they are going to make it a point to come there, right? So since you have the authority of your classroom and of the discussion that you're teaching, let your professor in charge know that you want that 2% grade of theirs in your hands and have a pop quiz during the first 5 minutes or have their attendance being checked. That will help you. Second, backpack zippers. Do you know what I mean by that? I cannot, you know what I mean? Yeah, I cannot stand when people are opening and closing their backpacks. You know, if the class ends at 9 o'clock, 8:55, it's as if they have something happening at 9. They need to like talk to their friends or they need to rush to the rest. I don't know what their reason is, but they do want to run out of the class. You know, and are you getting up right now to leave?
Oh, I was thinking about it. Like that actually doesn't bother me at all, but yeah, I can understand how it would.
So if you want students to be more attentive, pop quiz. Pop quiz helps. So, or just randomly, we have a professor in our department who randomly asks, he knows all the students by their names, and he has like 40 or 50 students in each of his class, and he'll just take out a name and he'll be like, okay, so he'll ask them to explain something that was taught already in the class, and if they don't get it, then they get a -10, and their points, their default points are 300, and he uses that for his grades, like for people who are on the boundary, or the borderline of A and A-, he uses that to boost their grade at the end. So that strategy might help. So see what works for you and make it happen. And then teaching the discussion class, we already talked about this, right? Purpose and goals, decide what to cover and get students involved. Lab class, many of us here are lab TAs, right? We have it specifically for you, listed out, you know, some rules that you might need to follow, so make sure that you look at our handouts. But know your equipment, that's what I would suggest you. Know what you're teaching. Make sure that you have enough of people for each equipment, or vice versa, enough of equipment for the people you're handling. And then finally, I'll talk about safety. Safety is the utmost importance for you when you are teaching the lab, and for that matter, even a discussion. If you do have, God forbid not, if we do have an earthquake, if we do have a fire tragedy, then how are we going to evacuate the place? What is your closest exit? Because you are the leader of the class, and now you have to keep your cool and keep the cool of the other 40 or 50 people in your class. So make sure that you think about the safety of the students every time you are allotted as a TA, okay? And also, when you're going for your first TA class, know where your classroom is. It helps. It helps when we are, go the previous day and see where your classroom is, what's the easiest route to take. Because sometimes, just going late, you don't really feel good when you're going late, right? And also, the first class is always nerve-wracking. It's nerve-wracking for us after even TAing for so many quarters. So make sure that you know where your classroom is. So we have all this listed, and I would like to give you 5 different points that you can take home with you. Always have a genuine purpose behind the lessons you're delivering. Could you read out the second point for me, please?
Make sure the material is engaging and interactive.
And the next person?
Allow students the opportunity to direct their own learning.
Mistakes are an integral part of the learning process.
Celebrate them. Celebrate your mistakes. How many times do we have niece or nephews or brothers, younger sisters, sons, daughters asking us questions and we don't know the answers? Does it happen? It happens, right? It happens a lot. So it's okay if you don't know an answer. If you make a mistake, it's perfect. It's just perfectly fine. Just make sure that you go and you rectify your mistake. That's what makes us bigger. Okay? If you said something wrong in the class, email the class after that when you realize it and tell them, hey, by the way, today in the discussion, this is how we approach that problem, but this is the way you can actually approach that question, and give them that alternative answer. There's nothing wrong in it. We're all humans and mistakes are just fine. We're still students, right? And the next is
humor releases tension.
Use it often. Having said that, can you all raise your hands? Stretch it. And then sideways. In front, and then sideways here. And then just wiggle it a little here. Like this. Yeah. And then here, wiggle it again. Okay, great. Thank you. So the next part that we want to continue to teach on is becoming a better you. The reason why we have this is a yellow pamphlet that you have. And the reason why we have this is because we want all of us to become better. And being a student or being a TA is not extremely easy because you have dual roles. You have a dual role as a teacher, right? And what's the second role you have? As a student, exactly. You have a dual role. You play a role as a teacher and a student, other than your wonderful personal life, which is always, which is again overwhelming, right? So you want to be extremely efficient as a TA. That's very important. And so these are some questions that we would like you to think about when you are planning your teaching assistantship for that 1 quarter, so that you don't fall back with respect to your own coursework, with respect to your own dissertation. So remember that you need to balance these roles, so give yourself a stipulated amount of time, define yourself some short-term goals and long-term goals you want to meet. See the long-term goals. Yes, I want to do this. By the end of my first year, I want to complete my proposal, for example, or at the end of my second year, I want to be a PhD candidate, for example. It works different for each department. I'm just giving you an example, okay? Or in this week, I want to complete this specific section of my coursework, okay? So make sure that you realize your goals and you make those happen. And sometimes it's all right to say no. Many of us here are extremely good and we want to help, we want to be nice, we want to be extra nice and help our professor and be there at their disposal so that we can help them out, right? So many of us want to do that. But if you think that you're overwhelmed, you can just say, hey, I think I can do this later on, or just tell them that maybe this is just too much right now on my plate. Tell them very politely, but there's nothing wrong to say that. Prioritize your own graduate work. It's the most important factor, because many of us don't only want to be teachers and professors who teach or lecturers, but we want to be also good researchers, right? We want to have an alternative career Maybe you want to go into the business. We don't know. So, I mean, based on your career goals, make sure that you meet them in the right way. And organize time. These are some tips that I would give you that I learned the last few years at UCR. Rank all your tasks, okay, every day or once in a week based on how your goals are set. And then make an outline of all the deadlines you need to meet. Sometimes we need to hand in our grades to our professor. Okay, all the graded papers, you have a specific day to grade them, and you have a specific day to hand it to your professor. So make sure that you have things noted down so you're on top of your duties. And then enter all tasks in a calendar or a date book. That will help to keep track of them. I know Jill does that a lot. Each evening, make a to-do list and use project management software and find out what hours of the day you work most effectively. We're not asking you to find out these hours so that you can spend with the students, but we're asking you to find out these hours so you can use it for your own growth. So you know that during that time you want to do your specific research, or you want to prepare for your own courses that you're taking. Okay, so make sure that you organize your time accordingly. And finally, I would like to end by showing you an inspirational video. And I hope you enjoy this. If they're outside voices, come on. Once for 1,